What's up, folks? We've got the honor of having Representative Katrina Smith on the show. We've been blessed with a whole load of absolutely fantastic folks lately. Representative Fockingham, some other folks, college Republicans, Turning Point members, and we're honored to have Representative Katrina Smith here with us as well. So, how long have you been in Augusta?
So this is my second term, so I've been there for 4 years.
Okay. So you started in 22, and I actually didn't know that. So that would have been about the same time I started getting active. Within this relatively short period of time you've been there, what have you seen? And you've been in the majority party, the minority party. What were good things you've seen? What were bad things you've seen?
Well, good things is that when you have a group of Republicans, you pretty much always have people on your side. You have people who are even in hard times have a bond that is a common sense, just approach to life and a desire to make it Maine a state that's going to be good for all our kids and grandkids. But with the fiscal responsibility and personal freedom and responsibility as well as the underlayment of that feeling. What I've seen is every single time, no matter when we think we might win a vote, or when we think that it's a bipartisan issue, that because our numbers are less than them, every single time they can do something to squash your hope of winning. They will always win every vote, no matter what. And if you ever think that you've won as a Republican, they really just let it happen. We have had some wins, but they really let it happen because they would never let Democrats vote with Republicans unless they approved it.
Sure.
What you saw on the late term abortion bill,
Yep.
that was, we still narrowly lost. But if they had to, they would have they would have put it off a few days till one of our members was sick or something. Then they would have brought it up. They're always in charge. And that's just the tragedy of numbers, right? If we had the same numbers or more, it wouldn't be the same. We could have a good chance of fighting and making sure that we win. But with the numbers as they are, that we're just not going to win, and we can't. But we can talk, and we can expose it, and I think we've done a great job of that over the last 4 years, is never letting them get away with what they think they are doing, in the darkness. We always
Sure.
bring light to it.
So on that topic, there's a lot of folks that have come forward and stepped up. They've been vocal. The Maine Wire's done a terrific job, exposing the insanity down there. The nonsense. I'm on Bobby Charles' team. The no nonsense. That's the whole idea, and that's not just Bobby Charles. I think that's a broad consensus amongst Republicans. We're sick of the nonsense down there. What would be your message to get people to vote for our side of the aisle? I mean, I've been campaigning since 2022, and we've seen consistent progress, but progress without a tangible result doesn't get us anywhere. So, what would be your message to push us over the line so we can root out the fraud and lower the cost of living and bring common sense back to Augusta?
Yeah, if we don't do it this time, if we don't change one part of the government, whether it's just the House, just the Senate, or just the governorship, I think we have the greatest chance in the House to win because we were so close last time.
Yep.
This is literally the last chance for you to keep your grandkids and your kids in this state. There is no reason for them to stay. There just isn't. Why would you stay when you can cross the border into New Hampshire or go someplace where the sun actually shines, and have a life that's worth living? Have a home, any home that you want. There are definitely plenty of areas that will give you a job and give you the opportunity to have a home. And why would they stay? This is the time. If we don't win, people will get poorer. It will be harder for them to have housing. It will be harder for them to have the future that they want in this state.
Every election cycle, we hear things regarding bringing jobs back and job creation. But as someone who's younger, and I mentioned I'm dressed like a 45-year-old, but I'm 21. I'm looking at my career upcoming. The two states I've got connections with, Maine and Virginia primarily, they're both being run terribly.
Yeah.
They're under one party rule. The Richmond and Augusta look to tax us up the wazoo on everything possible. I grew up in Maine and I've lived in Virginia here and there. I love both states, but both states are awful right now. I have no incentive to live in either one. So, what would be an incentive for someone like me to come back home after college?
There isn't one right now. And we've got to repeal the laws that went into place that harm business. We had the Family and Medical Leave Act, which made businesses not only pay for family and medical leave, which we're not necessarily against, but made them get into this ridiculous system where they're going to have employees leave and they've got to pay other people, and then they'll end up paying those people when the people come back. Just this convoluted system. And we just put in a millionaire tax. I mean, there's 2,600 millionaires in Maine. And when you think about it, those people, and a million's not what it used to be, right? And
Yeah.
still, I'd like to have it, but you've got business owners who don't need to stay here for their personal income. They can leave and spend over 6 months in another place. Or think it's not even a business owner, it's a brain surgeon, a cardiac surgeon, an anesthesiologist. Like, they can make a lot of money and they're not going to expand their practice or their business or open a second location. Oh no, I'll make too much money, and why would you stay here again to do that, right? Don't, yeah, come, stay in Maine, vote, let's see what happens. I think we can take it and we can change those policies and get us back and going. Jobs are the foundation of everything. To talk about healthcare, to talk about childcare, any of that, totally a moot point. If you have a good job, that's a good employer that cares about their employees, you're going to see good healthcare, good pay, good help with childcare, or one income can afford it, and a spouse can stay at home. So anything like that, it's all about bringing people here. We had data centers who were willing to come to Maine, like a big company's willing to come to Maine. It's like, it blows your mind. But what are we doing? We're putting a moratorium on them so they can't come. What other business have we said, no, we don't want you. We don't want you to come and have 100 to 200 jobs in a mill town that has no economy anymore, when you're talking about Jay or something like that. So it's ridiculous how we treat people. We want their money, but we don't want them to live here or grow their business or do anything like that. So lots can be done, and simple tweaks and simple changes can make people love Maine. Maine's a beautiful place to be, safe, friendly and beautiful outdoors. People want to come here, but they can't make that choice right now.
Now, you mentioned data centers. Would you, because, I mentioned being here in Virginia, the northern part of the state, there's an incredible, and I don't necessarily say incredible in a nice way,
Yeah.
amount of data centers being developed. Virginia is one of them. The Midwest has a ton of them being developed. If Maine was to get into that industry, what could we do to make sure that the citizens aren't footing the electric bill of those data centers, and to make sure that our water resources are staying clean? Because, no, don't get me wrong, I completely agree that jobs would be fantastic. But what can we do to make sure that our communities are being protected from extreme, especially the electricity costs?
Well, I think that you have to look at what we could have spent our time doing. Instead of putting a moratorium on data centers, we could have gone ahead and put safeguards on them to make sure that those things didn't happen. But also, that book that came out about data centers that said that they use, this god-awful amount of water, that is not proven to be true. The mill in Jay that they were going to redevelop to a data center was going to use 1% of the water that a mill used. It's sitting there on a river. These places have their own power plants, so they're going to generate their own power. They have environmental regulations already in place in Maine. We have ordinances in towns for what businesses can do. So we could have just taken that data center bill and we could have tightened it up a little to make sure that, electricity costs and things like that were not going to impact. From my understanding, the talks that they had with these data centers, they were completely going to generate their own power.
Sure.
We could have put that in the bill to make sure that that happened. There was no reason to say no. I mean, if you look at Virginia, how much warmer it is there. You're here in Maine, it's not even warm yet.
Yeah.
I mean, how much do you really have to cool the place down when it's 30 tonight in
That
April?
actually might be a benefit. I was going to say, I've seen a lot of stats on water usage, and it's skyrocketing, and electricity bills going up. Those would be my two big things. I would love to make sure, we bring jobs back to Maine. And if that's an industry that we can bring, we don't have much left. So I guess bring it.
And
But,
it wasn't going to be that big. I mean, these were pared down. These were not your Virginia big data centers
Sure.
at all. These were a very small version of that because Maine is Maine. We have
Yeah.
1.4 million people. We don't need all that, and they don't want to
Sure.
bring that there. So it's a conversation that needed to have adults in a room saying what can bring these people here while still making sure everything you said is still protected.
Yeah. I think if you could regulate the water usage and make sure that CMP isn't going to jack their rates, that might be as much as I don't love some of the AI developments we've had lately, that might be a plausible way to bring jobs back north.
Well,
And
don't forget that it's not all CMP's fault that electricity rates are high.
it's
that,
mostly Augusta's fault. You're 100% right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
On that topic, what could we do from Augusta's side of things to bring electricity costs down? I know Representative Reagan Paul that's been one of her big campaign topics. From your perspective, what can we do to bring electricity costs down?
Yeah, it's definitely the subsidies. It's still those solar panels and the subsidies that we put into place. We had a small decrease in those that they compromised on in the last session, but not enough. We are still subsidizing solar fields, which every Republican I ever talked to hates them with a passion.
Yep.
I mean, we live in an industrial dump going by those in our fields. It's such a tragedy. So that's a big part, wind and solar. Look at, people always talk about hydro and opening that up and the availability for that. I'm not an energy expert. Representative Paul definitely is. But we have enough people that have got it figured out that we can make a change in that
Sure.
area for sure.
Well, I mean, you don't have to be an energy expert to
Yeah.
I mean, just look at the idea of the government subsidies. You're in Augusta, and you have more life experience than I do, so you could correct me on this. But subsidies, you funnel a bunch of money into a market, you're going to create artificial demand. What is there a risk of, let's say, Republicans get in control and stop the subsidies as we should? Is there going to be a risk of solar graveyards that are no longer maintained because the artificial
Probably.
demand has been?
Yeah, I mean, right now they're still shoving in the last ones they can as they can get the last of the really good subsidies here.
Yeah.
They've put in a whole bunch of other projects. Yeah, it's a nationwide problem of what you do with these junkers. I mean, it's probably ruined. I believe that it will have ruined the farmland just like PFAS. There's no way we have snow and sleet and hail on those panels and nothing's leaching into the ground. We've done ourselves a disservice in Maine, absolutely, with those panels, and it's something we're going to have to contend with, and it probably will cost money.
It's going to be a nightmare in about 20 years when
Yeah.
everyone my age is, where my parents are, and we're having to clean up the mess of the current Maine Democrat
Absolutely.
Party. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. So we've covered things regarding jobs, regarding energy, a whole bunch of different things. What would be your summed up message to the Maine people for your upcoming campaign, the current campaign?
We have some great candidates. You have to remember that we only lost by about 60 votes throughout 3 districts last time. So there are very close races still. And people just have to get off the couch. We can't sit this one out. If you can't give money, you can give time. You can address envelopes. You can talk to your neighbors. You can make sure that person is known. There's so much to be done. Yep. And it really does fall on the candidates' shoulders. Like, often they'll feel just completely alone, and they shouldn't. They need to know their neighbors are with them and supporting them and calling out what the Democrats have done. If you have an incumbent Democrat in your district, give me a call. I'll tell you what they voted for, and just make sure people know that they voted for these policies which are harming Maine.
I think we're getting towards the end of the interview here. That was absolutely fantastic. Would you be able to give me like 2 or 3 things that you would say are the most insane things you've seen in Augusta within the roughly 4 years you've been down there?
It's all insane, but of course, late-term abortion and the continued push for family planning. And when they say family planning, they mean abortion, trying to say that's women's health, and that's all it's ever been about, when we know that it's not about that. LD 1971, passing it so that our law enforcement cannot work with federal immigration officers, is one of the worst things for Maine, basically making us a sanctuary state. That's insane, because we know the tens of millions of people that are here in this country illegally that are criminals. Anytime, I just said something on the floor about that and they freaked out because I was listing criminals. I'm sorry. Right. There are those people here. So that, and then just things like the millionaire tax, or the tax on people that are paying for over 400,000 people on Maine care. A third of our state has state paid insurance, and we've never told them that they need to reapply or that they need to get a job, so we're footing the bill for so many people with that and fraud. The people of Maine should be wealthy. We don't have a revenue problem in Maine. We have a spending problem, and the people of Maine should not be paying this much in taxes. So all of that added up, but we can change it. I still think we can, and I just need everybody on board to not give up.
Well, I mean, you want to say we can change it? We can. I made a video last night. I mentioned that I'm here in Virginia at the current moment. Still a Maine voter, but I'm in Virginia. The redistricting of the maps. That Virginia, if you look at the way the Commonwealth voted in last year's election, you would have thought it was about as blue as California. The redistricting vote was lost by less than 2%.
Yeah.
Glenn Youngkin was governor about 5 minutes ago.
And I know a lot of Virginia reps, and, they might just have lost their position in the state house the next time because of this redistricting, good pro-life and having reps.
Well, I mean, you look at it, the congressional map, I could have my numbers wrong, but I'm pretty sure we had 6 congressional representatives that were Democrats and 5 that were Republican. If I decide to not go back to Maine because it's falling apart and there's no opportunities, and let's say I stay here, I didn't really upgrade much, but the area I'd be in, a beautiful area. I love this community. The Lynchburg community is awesome.
Yeah.
Congressman John McGuire, his district doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Wow.
And is he a perfect guy? No, but he could represent this district way better than any Democrat ever could.
Right.
And so in the name of fairness, blame it on President Trump. Whatever you want to do, I don't care. It's not fair to the Maine people, the Virginia people. In the name of fairness, they stripped away representation of people.
Yes.
That's not fair.
Yeah.
But to go back to the original point, that vote was lost by about that much. So it's a difficult state to win, not impossible. In that case, Maine is very similar.
Oh, absolutely.
We might have slight cultural differences, but politically, Virginia has a little tiny couple little chunks of the state that ruin it. Oh, Maine has a certain little tiny chunk of the state that tends to control it. But if people get off the couch, we can overcome that.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Both states. Get off the couch, get active, and you can turn the tide of your community.
Yeah, definitely can.
Well, Representative, it's been absolutely fantastic to have you on the show. I appreciate it, and we'll get this uploaded as soon as possible.
All right, we'll see you on the campaign trail here in Maine, so we will see you then.
We will be as active as possible. Got to change the majority ASAP.
Yes.
Thank you so much. God bless.
All right.